Welcome, welcome, and we're live. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pierre-Etienne. I'm the founder of the Healing Studio Online, and today I will be in conversation with Mrs. Amari Dior, who's also a life coach specialized in chronic pain management. So we'll give it a couple of minutes. We'll give it a couple of minutes until Amari joins. Here she is. There you go.
Hello.
Voila. Hello, hello. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday indeed. Well, we're pretty much done with Tuesday here, but happy Tuesday morning to you. How are
Thank
you?
you. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing okay. Doing okay. I guess we'll go a little deeper into that conversation a few moments ago.
Yes.
So welcome to you. Welcome everybody. Whether you're joining us live or you're watching this replay later on. Today, are we going to talk about COVID? Is that what we said? Sorry, about the last few
Yes.
have been a blur, right? We're talking about COVID and pain, COVID related pain, how to manage that pain, what it may look like, and so on and so forth. And I know I'll speak for myself. At least it will be from my own personal experience. I just came out. I am coming out of it, I'm gonna say.
Right.
And I understand you've had a pretty close encounter as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. My husband had COVID. Um, I somehow didn't get it, but yeah, it was definitely a process and just being able to communicate and support him. I just went ahead and put our topic in the
Yeah.
chat. Yeah, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
So let's go ahead and get into it. And like all groups that I'm facilitating, I'd like for everybody watching us, for you and I, to maybe just take a couple of nice slow deep breaths. Inhaling fully through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Let's just make sure to arrive. Let's take one more nice slow deep breath in. Hold it at the top for a second. And let's exhale with the sound. And whether you're starting your day and you just want to make sure you're here, or you're ending your day and whew, it's been a long day, breath can be very helpful. So welcome to this live talk circle, coping with the pain of COVID-19, which is an interesting one, because I think, at least for me, there's a lot of question marks around what is it, how does it manifest,
Mhm.
and once again, I'd like to repeat that for my own personal feedback is not meant to be a comprehensive report on what may happen when people have COVID, rather than this is what happened to me, and this is what was helpful and this is what was not helpful. Right? Is this making sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Right. So shall we start with would you like to start with your husband's story? Would you like me to start with my story? How do we do that?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. Just in understanding that COVID-19, it wasn't just a thing where you feel sick and it's not like the average cold or flu that lasts for a couple of days. And there were a lot of things that caused us to just slow down, and just COVID-19 in general caused us to slow down and really get in tune with the process that the body was going through. So my husband had COVID-19 last month. And at the time, we didn't know that, like the first day, we are just like, oh, maybe it's a cold, like on the couch, like maybe it's just a cold, the air is on. And it's amazing what attitude does to just our body's ability to fight with, to boost the immune system and fight a virus or whatever it might be, sickness, pain. And so he's really always been good about just, all right, let me wrap my head around it. I'm going to accept it, but I'm going to move forward. And that's exactly what he did the next morning. He felt bad, and I was like, okay, bone broth, all this vitamins and supplements. Let's stretch. Let's go for a walk. It'll be okay. And he's like, oh, I feel terrible. And then after, we were just like, let's just boost your immune system, do what we can right now. And he's like, you're right. Let's just take all of this stuff and let me wrap my head around it, and then cool. And that was the beginning of it. That was the day that we found out that he had COVID. Somehow, sleeping in the same bed, eating together, driving in the car. We were actually out of town. So driving in a car on the way back, and I still didn't get it. I have no idea, couldn't tell anybody how that happened, other than just at that point, once we found out, we did have to distance. And that in itself, being a family under the same roof, loving one another and having to distance yourself for 10 days was really, really hard. And we definitely had to practice checking in with one another, understanding one another, taking it day by day and not making any assumptions, but just to really communicate and to really I had to really give him the time and space to be able to reflect and tune in with his body and openly tell me what he needed from me as a support system. So your son, yeah, go ahead.
No, if I may, I find this isolation piece to be quite a tricky one. And again, I'm speaking from personal experience. My son caught it. We 4 people living in a house. What do you want me to do? You want me to lock my son in a room, and leave him alone? He's 13, So here I'm just expressing somehow, I guess, and I am biased, right? Because it's created also a lot of issues logistically, school, then and for us it's been very challenging, not health wise, logistically it's been extremely challenging. My kids have been kicked out twice right now, even though they have negative tests. And they were like, oh no, because this person is still positive, and so all this to say that for me the isolating the person piece, I understand it, and yet I'm also questioning it to a certain extent, because I find it, depending on the situation, I find it isolating, harsh, depending on the person, right? If it's a grown up, and your husband, I think he's okay. He can take care of himself. But for kids, for elderly people, I think that raises really a question, as to oh, really, is that the best way to deal with that? Because I've heard so many people. I had a friend of mine. He was talking to his elderly mother, talking to her about his sister was in her 40s. And he was telling his mom, please don't, let her be. And his mom said, but she's my child. What do you want me to do? Let her be in pain on her own? And so I think it's a question here of I want to respectfully or not so respectfully challenge the paradigm of that isolation and say, well, yeah, but that connection is medicine. And I keep on saying that in my groups. And I'm not saying that we need to be on the top of each other and kissy kissy, and like obviously, you know, you like do what feels right. But I know for me, being there for my kids, being there for my wife, she got it, I got it, like everybody got it, and everybody got, you know, everybody got tired. I'll get into it in a few moments. But I'm questioning the isolation, and to what extent this is helpful, because also being aware of the fact that this is a virus, and this is not something that's going anywhere. And the
Right.
question is really, how do we approach it? I'm not saying we should, you know, let it run its course. I'm not saying that there's, you know, I'm not taking any political stance. I'm saying when my kids were sick, I was there for them. I wanted to be there for them. And when I was sick, God bless my wife for being there for me, because I was a wreck, right? So I couldn't, like, and alone in a room, I think would have been making it much worse than better.
I totally agree. So the first 2 days, I mean, we had to drive in town, so we didn't isolate at all. We were side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day we tried to do the whole isolation thing. We like separated rooms, and I was like trying to fix food and only give him a certain plate and only give him all these things and have him in one room. And then it was so unnatural for me because we are a very affectionate couple, and so we decided it got to a point where, because of the isolation, there was a question of like, are you supporting me? Are you upset at me?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you angry with me? And then it's just like, no, this is just like what separation and isolation is. And we found that it wasn't healthy for us.
Yeah.
So I did not have a mask in my house. I didn't walk around with a mask in my house. We have like a long couch and a shorter couch. And I was on the short couch next to the long couch, and we would watch movies together, you know, and I would eat on my side of the couch and he would eat on his side of the couch. And it just, that had to be, we didn't sleep together because that was like a prolonged period together. But as far as like day to day, we didn't, we distanced, but we didn't isolate.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing, as far as, because that first day that we did isolate, he felt terrible. But when we decided not to isolate, and we started figuring out, okay, we need to communicate better, and this is what I feel comfortable with, and all right, I need to make sure that you're taking a walk or sitting outside on the balcony with me, just for vitamin D, and just so you feel like you're not cooped up in the same in the same household, not being able to change scenery.
Yeah.
And we worked on like prayer and meditation together, and we wrote letters about our future, just something that would uplift our spirits. And I do totally agree with you that connection is medicine and community is medicine, because we had a couple of friends that dropped off some vitamins for us, which was really sweet. But it definitely made a difference in how I believe in how the virus um, accelerated and decelerated based on just us being able to be together and support one another, without the total isolation.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and there's two things for me here, and you know, I hear what I hear from you is a healthy approach, right, to somebody being sick, and we're gonna care for that person. Or I know I was grateful to be cared for, and I cared about, you know, others when I had to. and I think it's important because number one, indeed, your stress is gonna be less. I was in a very vulnerable place, and that support was for me was crucial, um, and it also reminded me when you talked about wearing a mask in your house. Um, I remember calling some family members, who caught it, and maybe it was 6 or 8 months ago. So I don't know if we knew less. I'm not sure we know much more about it, but I remember seeing them with gloves and masks, and the conversation was, hey, it's okay. We're positive. Both of us are positive. We both got it. And so I just rubbed something to help him breathe and this and that. And she had gloves and mask indoors, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is all that fear here that you're adding? What is that extra layer of, oh my goodness, we have the plague? You don't have the plague right now. And so for them, I remember telling them, please take your gloves off. Number one, you're in your own house. Number two, you already have it. Like, what is that? Like, there's nobody, you know what I mean? Like this, you both have it. So just rest.
Yeah.
And on the end of the story, they both did very well. They recovered, thank God. And so,
Yeah.
but in that moment, I was thinking about all the people, particularly people who are watching the news, which I think is so like stress, provoking, anxiety provoking, where there is a sense of like, my life is my life's on the line, and I'm saying that with a lot of respect. People did pass away, right? It did affect people, and so I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's not something real happening here. I'm saying, like, the fearful we are, the less able our body will be able to respond, right? And I think that's,
Absolutely.
like, yes to all the supplements, like you mentioned, vitamin C and D and so on and so forth, and everybody may use whatever medications they want for that. But I know for me, the number one medication was being cared for, was being loved, and reminded that, hey, by the way, I know right now you're in pain, and I'll get in a few minutes into what I personally experienced. But let's remember that by isolating people, we're affecting the immune system. We're affecting the immune response, and we're making them less and less able to recover.
To cope. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Feeling alone and worrisome and fear, that all breaks down our ability to, it breaks down the immune system, and it breaks down our ability to cope and to heal. Um, yeah, our body is in a totally different totally different nervous system platform, like
Yeah,
level, when we're in fear,
yeah,
and then you can't rest and digest,
right. Yeah.
I would love to hear more about your experience with COVID-19, and how you were able to cope through it.
So
Coping.
yeah. Well, I mean, cope. Yeah, it's I'm starting to use past tense. I went out for the first time yesterday, and today I'm kind of I'm back. I tested negative, and so on and so forth. But it's interesting because for me, in addition to some regular flu symptoms, there was some coughing, there was some sneezing, but that was minor. Personally, for me, the biggest challenge was actually some old physical pain that came back, some sciatica pain, some muscles and some pain that had been dealing with, that I thought had dealt with these past few years. This is not new stuff, and it's interesting because that was the challenge for me. Everything else was pretty easy to deal with, but that particular pain pinned me, and I know for like 3-4 days I wasn't able to sleep. And then I kind of share this experience with some other people, including chiropractors, and we're basically saying, yeah, it seems that for some people, and again, I think like people have very different experiences. There's not a one way to experience COVID, but for some people, it really brings back it brings back some physical pain, and that was for me that was a very humbling experience. Because there was very much for me two approaches, and we talked about supplements and vitamin C and vitamin D, and for us here we did the equivalent of ivermectin in the US, and you know, pretty quickly it passed. I recovered, thank God. But there was on the proactively, there was, if I may say, there was like really two things that for me helped, or proactively, or things that I was able to do, and how I was able to engage with COVID. Number one was, for me, it was breathing and therapeutic tremors. I was in physical pain. My whole body was you know, at times tensing up and frustrated, and so on and so forth, and so I needed ways to move that energy, right? I had so much energy stuck in my body, that I used some of the practices that I teach and that I practice to get that energy moving. I'm talking about short breathing exercises. I'm talking about, as I mentioned, therapeutic tremors, which I know you're familiar with, which is really how to turn on vibration in the body to kind of to help my body diffuse that that activation, that contraction, that constriction in the body. These were really my go-to when I had energy to do something about it. And the other thing that for me was the most helpful, and I don't know if truly I had the choice, or I guess I did, was just to really surrender. Was just surrendering to it. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about holding pain, the concept of holding the pain as opposed to trying to engage with it or solve it, or you know, I've most certainly tried some practices like of NLP and guided imagery, and you know, and the needles are becoming just old noodles, and that actually helped. That's you know, I've been doing this work for a long time, and I'm still quite amazed at how it does work. The thing is, it might provide some momentary relief, but I've found in my personal experience that in that moment, you know, it would come back. And so what to do? And sometimes because of the lack of energy, then the only option, I guess my body was trying to tell me this: you just need to lay down right now and listen to me. Lay down, listen to me. This is all pain. These are all traumas, which arguably may be mine, may not be mine. And here I'm just, you know, briefly alluding to some intergenerational stuff, because it did feel like some of it was mine, but some of it wasn't, and yet all of it was stored in my body. And so in that moment, the surrendering to it was probably what brought me the most relief, and the talking and loving my body and saying, hey, I know you're in pain. I'm very well aware right now. It's temporary, right? Everything is temporary. And I kept on repeating that to myself. It'll pass. And at times there was an amazing, there was some amazing relief, which, and that's the last thing I want to mention, which came with such an amazing sense of gratitude. Like the first day when I woke up in the morning and I was like, I'm not in excruciating pain right now, was this sense of like, wow. And I may be exhausted, I may be tired, I may be feeling a whole bunch of things, but I must say, wow, that felt really good, to actually see and sense, you know, that light at the end of the tunnel, which was like, right here, right now,
Right.
things may come back, because I understand that this is cyclical. I understand there's things that have to be dealt with, that have to be engaged. Um, and so that physical pain, to answer Vivi the yogi, what kind of pain was it that you experienced? For me was it was nerve pain and muscle pain. There was some of my muscles, some old like sciatica and stuff like this, was just like um, very painful. So there was muscle pain, and interestingly, there was also some nerve. Sometimes my skin felt on fire.
Wow.
Parts of my body, like my back.
Right.
Um, if sometimes my kid would come and lovingly be like, "Hey, you're gonna be okay," and I was like, just don't, please, don't touch me, because like I, like you have like when I have a sunburn, that was it. So there was some weird weird stuff, and I see that Vivi the yogi had a similar experience.
Mm.
By all means, anybody who's watching this, this who's attending here, just taking a step back again. I'm with my name is Pierre-Etienne. I'm the founder of the Healing Studio Online. I'm with Amari Dior, who's a life coach specialized in pain management, and we're discussing COVID, our
Yeah.
respective experiences with COVID, and what was the pain like. Um, and that was very personal, because I know
Yeah.
I know a lot of people around me who had absolutely nothing. They had no symptoms,
Mm.
and they just found out that they were positive. Not that the tests are
Yeah.
that valuable either, but you know that's what it is.
You know what? I wonder because the the muscles store memory as well as the brain. And so with being in being in a state having COVID and fighting a virus and um, feeling emotionally fatigued, at least from what I saw in my husband, was that he had back pain. And he doesn't get back pain. He's had back pain every now and then, but um, not really. And I had a thought, or have a thought, that when we are not feeling well and when we are battling something and when our mood is down, um, I feel like that makes us more susceptible to our brain remembering pain and our brain wanting to say, all right, this is the you're not feeling great, or I'm not feeling great, just based on when I have a cold. I'm not feeling great, and my mood is down, and this isn't what I want right now. And those thoughts, um, for me in my experience, have been able to give my brain the ability to say, this is the perfect time to send pain. This is the perfect time, now that I'm not feeling in the rest and digest mode, and I'm feeling like I'm fighting for my life, then this is the perfect time to remember the pain and to send it to the areas that I've experienced it before for it to make sense. But sometimes it doesn't have to really make sense. It might just be like what you said, where you have to speak to yourself. I'm okay. I know this is temporary. I can get through this. I am paying attention to you, body. I am paying attention to how I'm feeling, and um, I know that I need love and support right now. And I just wonder if you incorporating those words to yourself, and also understanding mind body syndrome, and I just wonder if that's what gave you the relief, was just being able to say what's going on, acknowledge it, have radical acceptance for where you are, instead of just trying to fight the pain and
Yeah,
keep on fighting and fighting and fighting.
yeah. I think the word that you use, radical acceptance, here is an important reminder, because I I personally don't feel like I was fighting the pain. I felt like I was most certainly not that happy, right, to be in pain, that's for sure. But was I fighting the pain? I don't know. I think oftentimes it was about engaging with it, as opposed to like, I'm going to try to make it go away. I'm going to try to find some fancy technique, so I don't feel it. When I found the most relief was, I think, when I was the most honest with myself as to like, what is going on right now? Where is it? How is it? And I know sometimes I teach to patients and clients, how to shift their awareness. And sometimes it's inwards, sometimes it's outwards. Sometimes it's inwards towards something that hurts, and sometimes it's inwards towards something that doesn't hurt. And I think all of these abilities to kind of like not get stuck somewhere, as far as I see it in hindsight, in addition to the loving support, right, of my family, which I think was crucial. That ability to say, okay, let me feel into it, and let me radically accept that right here, right now, I'm in pain, and there's nothing I can do. And that moment when I was like, okay, I need to feel this, and that came with a fair amount of frustration at times because of the lack of sleep and but I remember just at some point just trying to lay. There was no position that was comfortable for me. So all night I was just tossed around, and I feel so bad right now for my loving wife, who was like, we just had to, there was no option for her, but that must have sucked. Thank you, love, for the support. and so here I think the radical acceptance of saying, I'm in pain and this is what it is right now. I think in itself, stop trying to find a way, stop, like you were talking about, fighting or fleeing. Stop trying to flee from it. Like, instead of saying, I'm going to run away from it, which creates an activation in your nervous system, just saying, you know what, I'm going to stop running, and without sounding cliche, and just face it. And just face it and be with it. And I know for me that provided that sense of like, that's what it is right now. This is what you're doing. This is what there is to do. There's nothing else to do right now. There's no bandwidth for anything else. Like, I've tried at some point to answer some emails. I've tried to do some other things. My body was bringing me back and saying, nope, you just lay down and you feel that, right? And I may not cognitively understand why and how, and what are the reasons, and some people may argue there was no reason. That's okay. For me, there was an experience which I trust my body learned from. I know that my immune system learned from it. I know right now my immune system has been upgraded, is more able to fight, or to cope with, or to deal with, right, this virus, and potentially some other variances. And so I come out of it humbled and grateful. I guess in closing, for me, I would want to say that I'm grateful. I feel better. I feel for all the people who are potentially watching this video, and they're dealing with it right now, or have a loved one dealing with it right now. I'm sending love and support. And what I want to say is, don't leave them alone. Don't make them feel like they're abandoned and isolated and they have the plague, because they don't. They need your love. They need your support. And let them know that sometimes, instead of providing solutions, just being there with them on the phone, you don't have to hug them and kiss them in that moment. You can if you want to. But there's a lot of ways to to provide support, I think, in that moment. So humble and grateful. These are my last words for my COVID experience.
I love that. Yeah. And
what about you?
I mean,
as the caregiver.
As the caregiver, and just I think those two words are tremendously relevant, because on one aspect, I felt humble and grateful that I kept my health. But I also was humble and grateful that I could care for him and that it didn't get that bad. Um, and that we could still, through the sickness and the pain and the fatigue and the fogginess, we could still support each other. And that that for me was that was building for our relationship. And being able to just see that we could help each other in this instance, of course, and get through it and not take things personal, slow down and just accept, take it day by day, accept what was happening, and communicate. Communication was really key for us, and being able to just understand how we can maneuver the entire situation and support how I could support him best. So I'm definitely grateful for my health. I'm grateful that he got through it. And it did teach me that, okay, this isn't a joke. Not that I thought it was a joke before, but it did take a huge toll on us socially, on work, um, uh, mental well-being, and we were able to survive through it. So definitely really grateful for that.
Thank you, Amari. There's one more thing I want to mention actually before we wrap it up, and that's something that I have almost been taken for granted, which is the fact that my wife, in addition to being an amazing person, amazing caring person, very well versed in natural remedies, is also a homeopath, and I do want to mention it here to anybody who's looking for solutions right now, holistic ways also to heal the body. Because for us, we combine, and I mean for me, and for us being sick, the whole family got sick. We combine all of these approaches, which means that it was about nutrition, it was about vitamins and supplements, it was about breathing practices, it was about movement, it was about rest, it was about connection and support, social support, and it was about homeopathy, right? It was about natural remedies. That it's easy to forget, especially in the US, because it's such a allopathic oriented society that consumes 90% of painkillers production in the world. And so we as or the US as a society, I feel like is being shoved down the throat, some painkillers and meds. And let's remember that homeopathy is actually the second most widely used form of medicine in the world. And most Americans would be like, what is homeopathy? Yeah. So if you don't know what homeopathy is, look it up. HOMEO-pathy, which is really like the essence. It's an energetic medicine made from minerals, plants, and so on and so forth. That is such an amazing way to heal. And so I just want to mention it because we also, from day one, my wife got us on homeopathic treatments, and I have no doubt that this also helped us to actually recover pretty quickly.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
one resource for those who are interested.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, like, when I first had pain, I didn't want to take any of the pain pills and the pain blockers, and so I went to go study naturopathy, just a diploma. But it really did help us. So when this happened, I made us our own sea moss gel, and we had already been, this entire pandemic, we drink dandelion tea twice a day, and elderberry and green tea. And when he got sick, we did the same thing, just amped up on our zinc and our vitamin C. And we took sweet wormwood herb and sarsaparilla herb, and all of these things that helped with natural pain relievers and natural immune boosters and natural mood boosters as well. And it was really, really important. And we didn't have to go and take the regular painkillers and whatever it was. We just pretty much stuck to what I had already in the house, and it was really helpful for us. And it's yeah, you're definitely very blessed to have your union and the support system that you had. The herbs, I definitely think, and our communication and me not like walking around with a mask and gloves and us just being able to be next to each other with limitation was definitely helpful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Amari, and thank you, everybody. We're coming to the end
Yes.
of this live talk circle on coping with the pain of COVID-19. If you have any questions, please, by all means, feel free to reach out. Amari, would you like to put your, how can people find out about you?
Yes, absolutely. So my platform is Body and More Wellness. You can see it in this chat, and we will definitely link my at name to this repost. My website is www.bodyandmorewellness.com. On there, you can find pain quizzes, blogs, my services as well, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much, Pierre.
Awesome, awesome. And once again, I'm Pierre-Etienne from the Healing Studio Online. You can find us on the Healing Studio Online. Everything will be in the description for this live. We'll be back next Monday, most likely. Please
next
feel
Tuesday.
free. Next Tuesday. It's still blurry there. Next Tuesday, same time, 8 a.m. for about 30 minutes or so. And we are very likely to discuss nerve pain, coping with nerve pain, right? Or maybe
Yes.
something else, depending on what are the topics that are being sent to us. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll discuss it live.
Bye, you guys. Thanks,
Thank you,
Pierre.
everybody. Bye-bye.